So welcome back, or if it's your first time, welcome. We're so excited to finish this thing up today. This is going to be a blast. Today we're going to be doing all the intonation and all the setup. Last episode we took care of putting on all the hardware and our electronics, got that all situated. So without further ado, I'm going to send it over to Blake, and we're going to get this thing started. So thanks for joining us again, and let's have some fun.
Welcome back, YouTube land. Here we are, day 4. We made it. I'm wearing my fanciest shirt in celebration for episode 4. So first things first, we need to go ahead and get the strings back on this guy. And then we're going to put our string trees on. We're going to adjust the neck. We're going to set our action at the bridge and do our intonation. And then I think we're playing and we're done. So as you can see, I went ahead and just put 4 strings on to save us some time because we're covering a lot of ground like usual. But I left these last 2 here so I can show you how I like to do it. Now, lots of people, I feel like everybody's got a certain way they like to put on strings. I'm just going to show you how I do it. I think there is a right and a wrong way. Please don't tie these to the peg head. Like, if I've seen guitars come into the shop where the strings have been knotted onto the tuner. Don't do that. It's unnecessary, and it's not fun to get off. But anyway, so I like to pull it tight through. Be careful not to poke yourself. Look at who did that. On these little ends. Anyways, I like to pull it tight through the tuner. I like to grab it at the nut, and because we're working on a smaller fingerboard, smaller frets, I'm going to pull it back almost to the 2nd fret, and I'm going to put a kink in it. I'm just going to bend it up so I know where that string's going to, how much length I have, right? And then this gives me all that extra to put around the tuner. So I'll get my little string winder here. I'll get these tuners out of our way. I like to put my finger right here behind it so I can get this bend started. And we're turning it to the inside. And I'm going to go underneath. Some people like to go over, then under. I like to put them all under because then I can get it off a little bit quicker. And you're trying to get 2 to 3 winds. That makes me feel comfortable. Some people have a certain preference. Cool. And that's looking to be like my 3 winds. I'm going to make sure we're still sitting in the saddle. It looks like we are. Great. And I'm not going to take this all the way up to tension yet because we have to put our string trees on before we tighten everything down. So I'm going to clip it. And normally if this was on a normal guitar, I wouldn't clip it all the way until I have it up to full tension. But I think we're all right. So I'm just going to clip that down.
Great. So I guess a good time to ask what kind of strings come with the kit, and what sort of strings would you recommend for any sort of replacements if need be? Of course the strings will get old, strings will break. So
right. So I think this kit comes with some generic light strings. There's no brand name on those that come with the kit, but if you needed to get some replacement strings, I'm a big fan of elixirs. Personally, I like elixir strings. I know StewMac sells Diodario and GHS and that kind of stuff. I don't know how many string brands we carry, but we carry a lot. I'd also recommend the GHS boomers. And for this guitar specifically, I'd probably recommend the lights or the extra lights, but you don't have to get those.
Right. That's something that is generally left up to preference, like a lot of things, of course. But
yeah, I have a friend who lives or dies by Ernie balls, and I'm the opposite. I kind of live or die by the elixir strings, and I use elixirs on my acoustics and my electrics. They're just good strings. I have a few of my friends who work at String Joy in Nashville, and those strings are made in the USA, so that's pretty great. I like to give them business if I can.
Cool. Yeah, and if for all of our viewers out there, if you've got favorite strings, please let us know. Comment into the feed, and you guys can discuss it amongst yourselves.
All right. So now we got our strings on our tuners. It means we need to go put the string trees on, right? So in our instructions, it says to use a 5/64 drill bit and a 3/8 of an inch deep. And here's our 5/64 from yesterday. It's already at the depth stop for 3/8. So that's good. Got that done. And for the D and G string, it's going to be 2 7/8 of an inch from the nut. So basically, here's our D and G string, right? So our string tree is going to be in between these two. And I already had marked it out, 2 7/8, which is the front edge of this first orange piece of tape. So I'm going to get right here, and I'm going to index off the front of the nut. The instructions just say to you, from the nut. I'm going to use the front of the nut because it gets pretty close to that tuner. And I don't want it sitting on the metal. So I'm going to take my awl here, my center punch awl. I'm going to try to get it as centered as possible.
Gotcha. And that shop rule that he's got is going to be extremely handy throughout this entire process. We're going to be using it when we're checking the height above the pickups, checking our string action, all that good stuff. String action gauge as well, but shop rule is definitely handy.
And then for the B and E string, I'm going to index off the back of the nut to get it kind of closer to those tuners because there's a lot more distance. And we're doing 3 inches and 3/8, which is the front edge of this piece of orange tape. Okay. So I'm in between those two strings. I'm trying to get it centered again, and it looks like center is this piece of grain right here. Just press down, give myself a little dot. All right. So I take my drill bit, tighten it up. I'm just going to go ahead and loosen these strings up and get them out of my way so I can drill my hole and not worry about hitting the strings.
And while I'm thinking about it, if you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to comment them in the feed. Also, if your questions get on the technical side, or if you think something after this live stream is over, you can always contact us at service@stewmac.com. That's SERVICE@stewmac.com. Get in touch with our customer service representatives, and they can get you in touch with a technician if need be, or however we need to get your questions answered, we can help you out. So keep that in mind.
Oops. So there's that one. I'm going to loosen up these two. Our hole's right there. So centered up. Okay, there's that. And then something I didn't have prepped here was the string tree. So I need to go grab one from one of our handy dandy little parts bags. Real fast. Susan is on that for me. Gotcha. This was my fault. I was unprepared.
It's the joys of being live.
Joys of being live, right?
That's right.
So I can go ahead and get my screwdriver out and throw away these extra string clippings we just used.
So while we're
Thank you, Susan.
While we're doing this, if you wouldn't mind, explain exactly what we're using these string trees for, like why this is a necessary step.
So these string trees help put a better break angle down the back of the nut. So basically, like if you can see how long this headstock is, like it's longer than a Gibson because all the tuners are in line. And basically, when the string breaks through the nut and then it goes out to like these further out tuners, the string just kind of stays flat. Like there's not a very strong break angle. So when we put these string trees on there, it pulls these strings down closer to the headstock and creates a better break angle across the back. And that'll give you a better point of contact on the front of the nut. You can get rid of buzzing issues and that kind of stuff. So that's why we're doing it.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks. And Blake, I know you measured the body at one point to get the the strap button. And do you know the exact size? That was one of the questions from our users. Like
For the strap button?
no, there's just the size of the body.
Oh, the thickness of the body?
Yeah, thickness and I guess the length and width maybe.
You know what? I forget it off the top of my head, but I can measure it here in a second. And
Great,
let
great.
you know.
We'll get it. We'll get that question answered.
Yeah, just let me get these string trees on, and then we'll measure it.
No problem.
Okay. So this is kind of what the string tree looks like, right? That's the part that holds the strings down.
Great. And actually, we got our admin on that too.
Oh,
is helping
cool.
us get those.
They're
questions.
answering it for him.
Yeah.
Awesome. This little washer
Chiming in. We got
or this little riser props the string tree up for these further two out, right? And then this is the screw that runs through the center. So I'm just going to go ahead, use my big hands here to get this put together. There's that one. Kind of fumbling around.
And something me and Blake were discussing earlier was that we think that as time goes on, that this poly finish is really, really settling in and looking better and better all the time. So if you don't have a beautiful, perfect result right off the bat, give it a little time. And I think the color just gets richer and the streaks disappear. It's looking better and better every day that we come in the shop.
Yeah, 2 days later, I'm surprised at how much better it does look. Okay. So there's that. There's that one. We'll go ahead and do our next one. And this one has a little bit of a smaller riser.
Cool. And while he's installing this other one, I guess it's worth it to mention that we're building the mini T kit today, but we've got others as well. So if you're just joining us now, this is one of our kits here. We've got this is a mini S style kit. This is awesome little guy. He's got all three pickups, just like a normal. It's like a normal Strat would. You've got your all your tone and volume selectors. This is a great little kit, and of course, as you can see, there's different finishing and tinting options for you there. So this is the mini S style kit. Also, we've got the mini LP. I like this little guy. So we've got our humbucker action happening. And also, there's tons of full-size kits that we have too. So if you get one of these builds done, you like the bug bites you, go ahead and try one of the full-size kits. We've got tons. 335. We got our S-style kit, our T-style kit in full size as well. We got a full-size LP style. We got a lot to choose from. So check out the website and whatever tickles your fancy.
So now I'm just going to go ahead and get this thing up to string tension. Now that our string trees are on. And remember, this whole thing tunes up an octave from our normal E standard. So we're just going to E standard with our little tuner here. Except it's going to sound pretty much like a mandolin. It's got that high plingy sound. And as I adjust these strings, because they're new, they're going to stretch a little bit. And this neck's going to pull up. So we're going to have to keep tuning a little bit. Normally, I would probably stretch the strings, but these strings are kind of high tension because of the short scale, and I don't want to break one by pulling on it since they're already really tight. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my time and just keep tuning up. Let them stretch naturally here.
Just so you know, we got lots of great feedback coming in, man. Everyone's super excited. So
cool. Well, we're excited that we get to do this for you guys.
Yeah. We appreciate it. We're having fun too. This is great.
This has gone so well. I'm sure we'll probably do some other ones in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. Please. So if you've got any feedback on what you'd like to see, any other builds, anything that we could do better, something we could explain more thoroughly, or anything like that, please let us know. We really, really want to hear that feedback. Leave it in the comment section, and again, also email us and comment after. Cool.
So that's up to pitch. I'm I'm going to go throughout this whole process. I'm going to be going back and checking the pitch because during the setup, you want to make sure this thing is under the right amount of string tension and up to pitch. And that way, there goes one of our strings. Live TV. So, life. See how fast that was to get off the tuner? Like that's why I put those strings on that way. But it looks like the ball end broke. So it's time to get another string. That's why it's good to have extra strings laying around.
Absolutely, and it's worth it to note that this can happen. This isn't a freak occurrence. It happens sometimes. The string can break at the ball end, which is exactly what happened. It wasn't that it broke in the middle or something like that. It just broke at the point of contact there at the bridge.
And like I said a minute ago, with the short scale of this, guitar's under a lot of tension, but these strings are under a lot of tension. So I believe with the more tension, the thicker the gauge, the better. But I haven't quite figured it out yet. I'm actually waiting for one of my buddies to get back to me about that. So you guys get to watch me put strings on. I'm going to go ahead and clip this before I poke my eye out.
Yeah, we got everyone in the audience saying like, "Yep, happened to me. Been there, done that."
So it's D sharp.
Whoa!
2 for 2, everybody.
You gotta stop lifting, Blake.
Lifting? I don't think that's the problem. All right.
Gotcha. Absolutely. And we actually had a comment from one of our viewers too that we have a string stretcher that works really great. So I think we're going to try stretching the string out a little bit so we don't break another one.
Why do you stretch strings?
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah. So absolutely. So the strings will naturally stretch over time, and so we need to get the string stretched out a little bit so that we just cranking it right up to pitch right out of the box. It's just putting too much tension on the string. The shorter scale length is adding to that tension too.
That's what's going on.
It's a good reason to stretch the string out beforehand.
Is it something you do with all strings?
Yeah, absolutely. All of them. Totally. I would go with starting with the high E and then work upwards. I would even, and there's a few ways you can do it too. You can start with, tuning it up to, close to pitch and leaving it there for a little bit, playing around, bending it around a little bit, just stretching it. Or as one of our viewers said, we have a string stretcher. It's actually a tool made just for that. Cool. As you see, Blake, that's what Blake's doing right now. Giving a little stretch before we get it all the way up to tension.
Just doing my best. Trying to help this thing out. Make sure we're in the saddle because a lot of people don't realize like the string can get to like the left or the right of the saddle, even be under it, and they'll tighten up to full tension. And then they'll hit a note and it'll just plink out. So let's see if we can keep it from breaking this time.
Gotcha. Yeah, the people are commenting on different problems they've encountered for the same thing. Maybe the saddle being sharp or something. But
So I tuned the high E string, the one that keeps breaking, just up to D sharp, and that's a half step down from E. I'm going to let it sit there just for a second. Maybe give it a little bit more of a stretch.
Sounds
and
good.
see if it wants to settle in for me.
Sweet.
But it's always a good idea to have some extra strings laying around.
Yep. Some people are saying even swapping in a quality saddle could be worth it. You were always welcome to do that. It's all full-size hardware on this thing. Just remember that. Other than the pots. The pots are mini pots, but you are welcome to upgrade anything, pickups, saddles, tuners, all that good stuff. If you have any questions about sizes, we can help you out. I can tell you for sure, now that we're at it, the peg hole diameter for the tuners is going to be 10 millimeters or 13/32. And the pots, the knobs on the pots are a 6 millimeter shaft, and those will fit alpha pots. So keep that in mind. Pickups are full size.
Okay, so that is holding right now. Let's look at our instructions, see what the next thing to do is. Install the string trees. Strings are on. We're up to full tension. Now we need to straighten the neck. So the whole time throughout your process, you want to make sure you have the neck where you want it, and you want to have the strings up to tension. So as you're making adjustments, all your adjustments are to the playing capacity, right? So I like to go for a dead straight neck. Some people might like a little bit of relief. Nobody really wants any back bow because your guitar is going to buzz out. So basically what relief is a little bit of up bow in the neck, right? So you get that banana shape, the headstock's coming up. Back bow is where the headstock's going down, and you get that hill shape. Anyways, personally, the way I like my guitar set up is straight neck. People who want a little bit of resistance in their guitar, blues players or something like that, might like a little bit of a higher action and a little bit of relief in the neck. But for today's video, we're going for a dead straight neck. So I'm going to be using this little handy dandy StewMac 12-inch straight edge, and I'm just going to be running it across the top of the frets, trying to look for a gap in between the frets, at the top of the fret and the bottom of this straight edge. And it looks like we have a gap, and that means there's relief in the neck. So what we need to do is we need to tighten the truss rod. The way the truss rod works is that it is anchored down here, and there's a thread on this side. And as you turn the thread or you tighten it, turning it towards me, it squeezes the neck together, and that forces the center of the neck up. And if you wanted to loosen it, basically what it does is it releases tension on the neck going this way, and that lets the string tension pull the headstock up and force the middle of the neck down. Okay? So we need to tighten this truss rod. This is the right-sized Allen key for our truss rod. It comes with the kit. And I'm going to just put it in here.
Cool.
Try to get it locked in. Seems to be where we're at. I'm going to tighten it up. Might loosen this D string just a little bit so I can get it out of my way, because it holds up my Allen key.
And when I was a young player, I actually had some folks tell me that they didn't call it the truss rod. They had no idea what it was. They just said this screw will adjust the action of the guitar. Now, that has some truth to it, but that is not the function of the truss rod. Is that correct?
Correct. Your truss rod is straightening out the neck. Basically, if you have up bow or back bow, you can turn it left or right and get that fixed up. But it can affect the action of the guitar. Some people will come in and say, my guitar just doesn't feel like it used to, and then it'll have major up bow, and you'll straighten out the neck, and that'll drop the action down to where they want it, and then you won't have to adjust the action. It can really depend on the severity of how much the neck is bowed or in back bow.
Gotcha.
So it's situational.
Right. I was just thinking, just be careful when adjusting your truss rod, because you can run into other problems that may arise.
Right. People are scared of it, and I was scared of it when I was a young player. But, you can mess up your guitar if you take it way too far. So just don't take it way too far. Make tiny little adjustments and go back and look, and make another little adjustment and go back and look, and just explore. it really makes a big difference if you can get comfortable with your instrument. It's just like kind of like another level of bonding with it. So we still have a smaller gap because we tighten the truss rod. And usually on newer guitars, truss rod comes fairly loose. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get this D string back out of my way so I can. It's important to say whenever you go to check the neck straightness, make sure your strings are up to full tension, up to pitch, because the smallest amount of tension or no tension can change that. I'm going to turn it.
Gotcha. So just to clarify, as you're in that position, you're pulling the truss rod towards you, correct? You're pulling
I'm turning the nut towards me. So basically, righty tighty, lefty loosey. If I was over here, I'd be turning it to the left, turning it to the right to tighten it.
Correct. So when you tighten, quote unquote, tighten the truss rod, it's lowering the headstock. Yes. Bringing the headstock.
Yes, it's bringing
down.
the headstock back, and it's bringing the center of the neck up.
Perfect.
By squeezing the neck together.
Right.
So now I'm taking it back up to pitch.
All right. It's worth it to add having the neck straight as possible. It's just going to make it easier to play, and you're not going to run into any string buzz, anything like that.
All right, so now I'm going to check the neck straightness again.
Gotcha. We had a question about from one of our viewers. They said, how much of that relief is due to string tension? And I'm assuming that can vary.
That can vary. It depends on how tight or how loose your truss rod is, because there will always be a small amount of relief. Even though it may look straight, there's probably like this micro amount of relief in the neck.
Right.
So that can vary. That's a hard question for me to give. And it depends on like what gauge strings you're using. If you're using like 13s on your Strat, there's going to be, the strings are going to cause a lot of relief. And so your truss rod's going to be really tight to try to bring it back to straight. Or so, you're not playing mile high action. So it can vary. Anyways, cool. I've seen a lot and I've seen very little. It also depends on like how strong the neck is. Like, if the neck's made out of a good piece of wood, that time I was able to get it without moving the strings. So I just did a little bit of tightness there. And that's looking pretty good to me. So just the slightest amount. And I'm going to leave it.
Cool. We had another question. One of our viewers, Robert, was asking if the vise is going to play any part in when you're adjusting the truss rod.
I'm adjusting the truss rod?
Right.
Not really.
It's not going to. Okay. I didn't think so. I just wanted to hear from the man.
We're moving such a small amount. It's not. I've never done it. I've always adjusted the neck and the vise and never had an issue with it.
Cool. Good to know.
Okay. So now that our neck is straight where I want it, in the instructions it says to set the action at the nut. I have just some nut files right here. I'll show you guys what they look like. And I'll show you what I'm looking for, but this feels pretty good so far, so I don't think we're going to mess with it. But anyways, these are different nut files. These are some of the, I don't want to say lower end, but more affordable nut files. These are diamond plated nut files, and they're my favorite, but they're the most expensive. Anyways, you just use these guys, and I'll give you just a slight little example of what I'm looking for and how to use these guys just real quick. But this one's really good, so we're not going to mess with it too much. All right? So basically what I'm looking for is I'm going to press down on the first fret, or the third fret, my finger, and then I'm going to take my first finger and push the string down to the first fret. So I'm looking at the amount of travel between the bottom of the string to the top of the fret. And there are some good measurements and numbers to go by on StewMac's website. We also sell a dial count, like little dial indicator that will measure the amount of that the string drops and give you an exact number of how tall the slot is in the nut. I've just done this enough. I like to look at it and I kind of have an idea of like what I like to see. And that E string right there, that's perfect. Like that's a very small amount of travel, but just enough that I'm not going to get any buzz.
Gotcha. So what, do you know right offhand what the measurement is that we generally recommend?
I don't. Yeah, are you looking it up?
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. I can totally do that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So as he's doing this, I can let you guys know that for an electric guitar, we recommend about 10 thousandths on the treble E. This is action at the nut. 10 thousandths on the treble E string and 24 thousandths of an inch on the bass E. Now that's just our recommendation. It always ends up being player preference. So I tend to like the action kind of as low as possible, especially on an electric guitar. But on my acoustics, I actually like it. I like it a lot higher. I play pretty rough on my acoustics. I'm a finger picker and I slap and bang notes around. So I get way too much buzz if I have really low action on my acoustic. Again, personal preference. It's always up to you.
All right. So I'm just going to give you a very brief little thing. This A string is just a little stiff. So I got my nut file right here. And what you want to do is you want to slightly angle this file back. And that's called back filing. And what it does is it takes the material behind the break point, which is at the front of the nut, away. So your string's not held up on a big flat. It's indexing off a very small point. That'll take away a lot of buzzing issues and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to just give it a little brush. Now I'm just trying, I'm not going to do a whole lot because when you're working on a nut, the smallest amount will make the biggest difference. And so I'm getting a little dust on the front, which means I'm hitting the front, getting a little dust on the back, which means I'm back filing. Get that out of my way, put it back in there. Get my tuner out, tighten it back up to pitch. Here we go. You can hear it. It's a solid note. There's no buzzing, no anything like that. If you get some buzz, I'd recommend checking the nut for any back filing issues, okay? So that's how you would take care of your nut if you need to. This one's great now, and we're moving on. So the next thing is setting the action at the bridge. So whenever I'm setting up an electric guitar, I have a couple measurements I like. First things first, we're just going to set the action of our two outside E strings. We're going to set the action of our two outside E strings, and then we're going to raise the ones in the middle up so we can walk them back down into our radius gauge, which we're going to be using right here. And we also give you some cutouts so you can make your own in the instruction manual. So you don't have to buy the metal ones if you don't want to. But if you do want to, these are awesome to have. You'll be able to do really good setups. So we're going to go ahead and talk about our two outside E's. I'm going to get the tape off my rule right here. Gotcha. And for the high E string, I like to see like 1.5 30 seconds. So I'll be measuring in 30 seconds. Some people like to measure in 64s because they're finer, but I know what my measurements I like and are in 30 seconds. So I'll be 1.5 on the high E string. And then on the low E string, I'll be looking at like 2. Okay. So I'm looking here. And that is almost 3 seconds. So I'm going to lower that side down with a little Allen key that comes with the kit right here. And this is for adjusting the saddles. I'm going to lower the saddle. Check it again. That's like 2. I'm going to lower the other side. And once you lower or raise these saddles, it's going to change the pitch of the string. So once you do that, go back and tune them back up to pitch, okay? Scary.
Exactly.
You haven't
So
been
it's-
hit in the face with a broken guitar string. You haven't lived life. All right, so that's 1.5 right there, but I'm going to tune it back up to pitch. Make sure our neck is still straight where we want it. Hear how it's flat now.
Gotcha. And just to give you folks out there our recommended measurements in terms of thousandths of an inch when we're looking at action at the 12th fret. Let's see here. Yes, so we're looking at 63 thousandths of the treble E and 78 thousandths at the 12th fret. So that's our general recommendation. Again, player preference, but good place to start. Something to keep in mind.
And on the bass side, I like to set mine for like 230 seconds. And I'm almost there. And what I'm looking at is getting the bottom of the string to the line that I'm looking for on my ruler, or my shop rule right here. And so if I was looking for 230 seconds, I would be looking, the bottom of the string is like right here at this second line. Okay, so we check it again. And that's pretty much perfect. So I'm going to tune it back up to pitch. I'm one of those crazy people that turns the tuner on and off every time so I don't kill the batteries. Okay, so that's looking good. Now I'm going to go ahead and take our 16-inch radius gauge. I'm going to bring it to the front of these saddles. I'm going to pull it up, and it is buzzing on the B string and the outside E string. So that means I need to raise the B string, so we're only buzzing against our two outside E strings. Okay?
Gotcha. It's worth it to mention that we have this radius gauge in the form of a cutout in the front of the instructions for this kit. So if you don't have this a set of radius gauges, these understring radius gauges, we've got it set up for you so you can have something to use in a paper cutout. Okay. And if you wouldn't mind explaining to some of our more inexperienced viewers and new folks out there, like, what is a radius gauge and why are we doing this? What is a radius? What does that even mean?
Radius is like the curve this way of the fingerboard, and we need to match the saddles to the radius of the fingerboard for maximum playability, right? So basically, they come in all different sizes. There's like 7 1/4, there's 9 1/2, there's a 10-inch radius, there's a 12, there's a 14, there's a 16, there's a 20, and then there can be a compound radius, which means that there's multiple radiuses like all across different points on the neck. Luckily, this mini tele kit is just a 16-inch radius, so it's fairly flat. You almost can't see the curve there, but it's there. And this will make a big difference in the playability of the guitar. A lot of people don't even realize that your saddles should follow the radius of the guitar. So a lot of people will bring their guitars in, say, I want this set up, and all the saddles will be flat across, same height. And then it's just not comfortable, or they're getting buzzes in certain places. And this will ensure that there's an equal amount of distance between the bottom of the string and the fret all the way across. Okay?
Sounds good.
So bring it back through. I raised the B string a little bit. I'm checking it out. Now we're buzzing against the E string, buzzing against the B string. G string is not buzzing. D is buzzing.
Gotcha.
A is buzzing. E is buzzing. So it looks like we only have to bring down our G string, which is cool. So I'll just bring that down just a hair. That should be enough. Once again, I'm going to check our intonation, or not, our tuning. Make sure we're at pitch. And I'll check it again.
Let's see. I have a question from Max. I think you may be asking when we're adjusting intonation. When we're adjusting intonation at the saddles, we're checking from the 12th fret. So I hope that answers the question. If it didn't, please clarify, and we'll definitely get you.
What was the question?
It was, let's see what exactly how he worded it. When what fret do you measure the saddle from? I was thinking he was meaning intonation.
Yeah, that's not a very clear question.
Right.
You know, you could be talking about scale length, you could be talking about intonation. I'm not positive, but if you can clarify a little bit, we could probably answer it.
Absolutely, and I think our admin upstairs is
taking care
helping
of
them out as well.
Who's our admin upstairs? Because I want to give them a shout out.
That is Brock.
Brock,
I believe.
Shout out to Brock, our VP, our fearless leader.
That's right.
All right, so now I have the radius set across. This is a good 16-inch radius, the same thing as the fingerboard, and we're moving on. So the next thing is adjusting the pickup height. So we're looking at, this says hold down the low E string and the high E string at the 22nd fret. Adjust the bass side of the pickups to 5/64 and the treble sides to the 1/16. So we'll go ahead and do the bass side first. And looks like it's a nice big Phillips head.
Cool.
So I'm going to be switching over.
And just out of curiosity, you know, what's the reasoning behind setting our pickups to that position? And could you do something different? What would you want to do something different?
Yeah, so we're setting the pickup height so you get like the optimal amount of volume out of your pickups, because if they're further away, the quieter they're going to be. And if they're not, somewhere in the same range, like the bridge pickup, the neck pickup, in my opinion, more times than not, is hotter than the bridge pickup. Also, that depends on what kind of pickups you're buying, who they're made by, how hot or how they've been wound. My experience, rhythm pickup's a little bit hotter than the bridge pickup, and so your bridge pickup's always a little bit closer to the strings than the neck pickup is, and that way you have a good balance between the volumes. So when you switch pickups, you don't have a huge boost of volume. Somebody might use that to their advantage, though. If somebody wanted to have like a boost on their bridge pickup and have the neck pickup be quiet for rhythm, they might be a really big difference apart. So it's kind of a personal preference, but in the instructions here, we give you some general numbers to start at, and then you can go from there.
Cool.
Okay. So I'm holding down the low E string at 22nd fret, and then I'm taking my shop rule, and I'm looking for 5/64 from the top of the pickup. So the 64 is on this side right here, 64, and it's a lot smaller measurements. So I'm looking to go to 5, which is like right there. So I can raise it up.
Okay. And just to make sure that we're all on the same level here, as you tighten the height screw, it raises the pickup. Is that correct?
Correct.
Cool.
This just takes a second, and it can make the biggest difference. Something I'm just now starting to get into is messing around with the pole pieces, like on a humbucker, which I've never done, but I have a friend, my friend who I told you about, who brings me Les Pauls all the time to put Grovers on. He started getting me to do it, and I got to tell you what, it makes a huge difference.
Cool. And just so you guys are aware of this as well, we have a YouTube video about intonating guitars, and it's just simply called How to Intonate a Guitar. One of our colleagues, Aaron Smiley, does it. It's great. He works on at least he goes over a few different types of bridges. So if you're looking to intonate your own guitars that you're working on at home, it's a great resource to check out.
With that being said, I am off to doing the treble side of these pickups, and I'm taking it to 1/16, and that is the first little mark on the bottom edge here. Show you that, or I can show this one. It doesn't matter. Bottom edge of this mark, of this one, and it's the first little mark because it measures in 16ths. Got it? Cool. Then moving on. That's a little tall, so I'm going to lower it down. That's about good. I'll check the treble side of the bridge pickup.
Let's see here. We've got a question from Max, or no, I believe it is. It's Andy here. It's wanting to know what the conversion is to millimeters for those in the UK. Let me see. I'll pull up a conversion chart here.
Yeah, I don't know my metric.
Gotcha. Yeah, we've got the conversions here on the site.
All right. So our pickup height is set, and then we're off to set the intonation. So this is the fun part. This is our last step, and then we're going to plug this thing in. What's our time at?
See here, I think we're looking pretty good right now. We're at 46 minutes.
Oh, perfect. We're just cruising.
We are doing good. And I'm working on that conversion for you right now, Andy.
Where's everybody from? We have any more newcomers today?
Got some solid, definitely. Someone from Indonesia for sure was here this morning, or this afternoon rather.
All right, so intonating. This is a really big part of guitars, and it's a lot easier to intonate electric guitar than it is an acoustic guitar. Intonating an acoustic guitar can be some witchcraft. So I don't know if we have a video on how to intonate an acoustic guitar, but if we don't, we should probably make one sometime. Anyways, I'm going to show you how to intonate this electric guitar. Depending on what kind of bridge you have on your guitar, the saddles either adjust individually or you're adjusting two at a time like we are right here. Either way is fine. So we're going to get started. Intonating is basically making sure that your octave note, which is at the 12th fret, is the same as your open note. So it can either be sharp or flat depending on how far forward or backward the saddle is. If it's sharp, we're going to move the saddle backwards, making the string longer, and that's going to be flattening our open note. We're going to tune it back up, and that will make our octave flatter, so we can, get them to be the same. Or if it's sharp, we're going to move it forward, shortening the length, right? So this is kind of like fine-tuning the scale length to have perfect octave notes. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our high E, or I'm going to start with our low E. Why not? It's perfect. A little sharp, a little sharp. So I flattened it. There we go. So I'm going to press down on the 12th fret here. Sweet. And it's really sharp. I don't know if you can hear that on my little microphone. All right, so since it's so sharp, we're going to be moving the saddle backwards. And it's going to be moving the A string with it because the A string and the E string both share this one. So I'm going to loosen tension just a little bit because these strings are really thick. And then I'm going to pull it back a substantial amount because that was pretty sharp. And then I'm just going to check again. I'm just using a Phillips head in the back of this. You just tighten this screw and this it just runs the thread through the saddle. And so now I'm going to tune it back up to pitch.
Awesome. So just so you were asking, Blake, we got folks from England, the Philippines, Rhode Island, East Texas, New York, San Diego, India.
Oh, cool. Welcome,
representing the world once again.
Welcome to our little slice of America.
And actually, I do have an answer on those conversions for you there.
Okay.
So, checking this is for the pickup height. Let's see here. From the bass side, it was 5/64, and that's basically 2 millimeters, 1.98. And the treble side was 1/16, and that's basically 1.6 millimeters, 1.58.
There you go. You can thank my man Nick over here for hooking you up.
And just so you all are aware, you can find conversions at the bottom of any of our web pages on our site.
All right, so that is almost a perfect octave right there. I went ahead and moved it back just another couple times. And we started out up here, and now we're back here, and that is being our octave. So I'm going to check our A string. That sounds good to me. And our tuner is recommending the same.
Oh, I see. He's asking us to get some body measurements.
Oh, body measurements. I forgot. Let's go ahead and do that real quick just for this. We'll do that after this. I'm going to keep putting it off until I forget again. Don't let me forget, Nick.
You got it.
So our D string is in tune right here at the 12th. Super sharp, so the saddle's got to come back. These strings are a little bit lighter, a little bit thinner. So I think with my handy dandy screwdriver here, I can just go ahead and pull them back real fast. I'm going to get them somewhat close to the other ones. Maybe just a little ahead of them. Now that note's flat because we made the length longer. Tighten it up. Check it again. And that's less sharp, but we still got more to go. And the farther you pull this back, the harder it is because that this spring's pushing against it, creating more tension. Keep just checking my tuning so I'm consistent. Very slightly sharp. You can see this takes a little bit of time, but we haven't come all this way to be slacking now, right?
Absolutely.
Tiny bit of sharp. Huh?
Sorry, I was just going to say it's worth it to mention again. You're always welcome to throw some questions into the live feed, or in case after this is done, or maybe we didn't quite get to your question, it got maybe buried in the feed or something like that. You're always welcome to email us at service@stewmac.com. We have our customer service folks take care of you, answer your questions, or get an answer from a tech if need be. But we'll do everything in our power to help you out and get your questions answered.
Wait, did our tech not get that guy body measurements?
No, he doesn't have a mini kit up there.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's an octave. Check our B string and our E string. Make sure they're in tune. B is just a little flat. E is just a little flat. You can hear that's pretty sharp. So we're gonna move those back. And it looks like that saddle's bumping up against the other one, so I'm going to loosen our string tension here. So I can move that saddle left to right, because it's getting kind of caught on the other saddle, not wanting to move back. So I'll push it to the side there. There we go. We're just going to move it back since we don't have the string tension off fairly good amount.
Cool. And I've got a couple questions coming in here.
Lay them on me.
Let's see here. Well, one of them actually is, do all the employees here play guitar? Most of us do, but it depends. We've got all kinds of employees all over the building. So, it's not just guitar techs and that would, we've got folks working in the warehouse. We've got janitorial staff. We have our marketing team. We've got everyone here. So not necessarily, but however, some of our IT guys are shredders, man. They're amazing. Like we've got some folks on in the marketing team that I'm not going to drop any names, but it's like tons of people. Rachel, of course, can shred like crazy.
Right. Somebody requested eruption.
It all depends. It all depends. I'm much more of a cellist rather than a guitarist, and I also play stand-up bass. But I do play guitar. Definitely not professionally, but I play. Let's see here.
I just fix toys and eat pizza.
But that's the fun part. That's the spice of life. Well, let's see. I'm going to see if I can.
Very slightly still sharp, but we're so close to plugging this thing in.
Oh yeah, that's right. One of our viewers is talking about adjusting intonation in the playing position. That's definitely something I've heard of too.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, if you have any?
I adjust them laying down, and it works for me. Like even when I go to playing,
Gotcha.
I like to do the fretwork in the playing position with the early wind neck jig. That's great. Sometimes, like if I'm in my own shop and I have my little foot tuner, you know, I'm adjusting it in the playing position. Right now, I'm adjusting it here, and it's going to work. I don't have terribly strong feelings about it, but there you go. Nick's getting us some body measurements here.
Absolutely.
I can measure the thickness for you if you'd like.
Sweet.
Just got my little digital readout calipers here.
So overall length, we've got 12 1/4. Okay. And here we go. And width at this position is 9 3/4.
The thickness, we're looking at almost like 1 inch and 600 thousandths, like
Cool.
590. And it really depends on how much you sand. You know, if you wanted
So there
to,
you go.
you could sand this thing to be like 1/2 inch thick, but you're going to be doing that for a long time, unless you run it through a planer or a joiner or a sander or something like that. All right. Well, that's it. We've reached the end. This is the moment. This is the moment we've been waiting for, right?
Oh man,
We're done.
we are done.
Give yourself a pat on the back. This has been a long week. I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing on because somebody asked us to.
That's right.
Now, I'm not going to kill everybody here, so I'm not going to turn it up to like 10,000. But somebody asked for a Marshall. This is our Brit 800 kit amp, and it's pretty awesome. I like it. I'm going to start with the volume down. Let's tune it real fast. Listen to that beautiful hiss.
Don't break the string now.
Oof. Yeah, if I break a string, I'm sorry guys, but you saw me play it in the first video.
That's right.
Change it up just a little bit. These strings are still settling in just a little bit. Cool. So I would probably use that to make like some little guitar mandolin sounding parts on like one of my buddy's songs. I love it.
Let's hear more.
Want to hear
Can you
more?
give us like a blues lick or something?
Can I?
Can I?
Still not used to it. It's so small. Cool.
Woo!
There it is. Everybody, it has been a pleasure. What a good week. Hanging out with my pals.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Here's your guitar.
Thanks.
Anyways, Nick, you want to take us home?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's do it. Well, everybody, we've arrived. We did this thing. It's awesome. Then just to clarify, this is the guitar we started from at the beginning. We had a couple of little props in the beginning so that we could show you some things, but this is the guitar that we took from day one until now. So we did this in 4 days. We recommend taking your time a little bit longer with the finishes and things like that. But otherwise, this is it. This is the finished product. This was the mini T kit. Just as a reminder, we have a couple of others of these mini guitar kits. We got the mini S style. We got the mini LP. So whatever your preference is, get at it. We've got full-size kits as well. So if you're feeling ambitious and want to go for a larger kit, or you want to go for an acoustic kit, even if you're really feeling like doing some woodworking, you know, we've got plenty of resources here to help you out, and hopefully we're going to be doing a lot more of these series and doing a lot more of these builds. So thanks so much for joining us. We had a blast. This was great. I want to thank everybody again, you guys first, and then I want to thank Blake for doing this build for us. I want to thank Rachel for her awesome camera work. I want to thank Susan for driving us here. She's really been the one that's kept it all together here and helped us out. So thank you guys so much for being with us and watching us do this. And good luck. Show us your work. We really want to see it. And again, I'd like to drive it home that if you have any other questions or comments after the fact, once this is over, please direct them to service@stewmac.com. We will get you guys helped out. Also, I should note, these will stay online. All 4 of these episodes are going to be online after these over. They're not going anywhere, so that you can reference them at any time. And that's it. Good luck, everybody. Please enjoy your builds and have a good rest of the day. Thanks for being with us.